So for this one we're going to be talking about 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and the two new movies, 28 years later and 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Now, I have talked about these films already, I've reviewed all of them, but for this one we've got a guest on this now. I haven't had anyone in the review room since Halloween 2020, bizarrely. Now, we used to have the core. For this one we've got Paul Cage, but unfortunately he's not as good a reviewer as the core, so I've decided to edit him out of the video digitally and replace him, as you can see here, special edition style with a digital Jabba the Hutt. So that will be the rest. I'm kidding. Anyway, we'll crack on with the video. Like I said, it's going to be a long one, and we kind of talk the movie through in general. Well, the last two movies through in general. Just be aware that when we say the first and the second movie, we mean the two new ones. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, here's the video. Welcome to Brandix Reviews, and today we have Paul Cage.
Yes, how are you today?
So we don't have the core on this one, we have, I don't know, the whore.
The whore, yeah.
Yeah, so point of this video, Paul's never appeared on Brandix Reviews before, so what we're going to do is we're going to do another video talking about 28 years later, The Bone Temple. We thought we could talk about all of them if you want. Yeah. We haven't really rehearsed this or anything, or said what we're going to talk about specifically, so yeah, this is one that we've seen them all now, obviously. We've watched them at the cinema, and we didn't go see the movie together. We've had a few conversations about it, but I think what's interesting is you and I have got like different theories about the different kind of things that just kind of like channels like Alien Theory, where they talk about the various things on there, like how this might work, how that might work.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room for that with this franchise as well. So, what do you think of the last two films, anyway?
So, yeah, my journey started, obviously, when the first film came out last year, and I took a friend to see it, called James, shout out to James Bateman, who hadn't seen any of the originals, so he'd not seen Days or Weeks, and I went to watch it with my wife, Lucy, and yeah, the trailer, I don't think, did it a lot of justice, to be honest. The trailer didn't really sell it to me. I thought it looked a little bit like it's going to go into cults and stuff, which I suppose we can get into that later. But yeah, not what I thought it was going to be. But I thought it's a 28 film. I'll go see it in the cinema. Came out, absolutely loved it. For the reasons Joseph just said, there's room for theory, speculation, because we knew from the start that this was the start of a trilogy. So yeah, it was where's all this going to go? Lucy loved it, but then I had a bit of a flash where I was like, my other friend James, never seen the original, sorry, I think I already said that. And I thought, do you know what? He's just starting, he's watching films that are generally out of his comfort zone a little bit. And I thought, this is perfect, because it's horror without being over the top, it's gory without being over the top, it's not jump scary, it's not anything like that, it's more about the people, the characters. So I took him to see it. Again, he'd not seen the originals, and he absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. So that made me like it even more. So I just had to see the second one in cinema, again, with the way the first one ended. So I went to see that the other day. I've seen that twice now, the second one. Again, I'd probably say I loved it. I think you're similar, Joseph, about as much as the first one.
Yeah.
To be fair. So yeah, as you can probably guess from that, I really like them both, because we can theorise and we've got a lot to talk about. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a kind of parallel with this, with what they've done. You could sort of say it's a trope in like zombie movies where it's the sort of the human element is more dangerous than the sort of, whether it's aliens or zombies or whatever element. And it's something obviously they did with like the George Romero zombie films. But it doesn't feel tired in this film. You didn't really get that much of a threat from the infected in this compared to what you got from the human element. But that was something that was set up in the last film. And of course, it's more interesting because obviously they've actually got something, there's a point to it rather than just kind of zombies coming at you. But at the same time, I think that's maybe what alienated a lot of people because people thought it was like a bit weird, and I think they just wanted like a Resident Evil movie where zombies are getting like mowed down with machine guns and it's splat and everything. It's cool and it's like
probably more like 28 weeks to be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why maybe that film didn't stand up to the first one as much as I liked it.
Agree.
But I think with these last two movies, they're quite good because although you can watch them back to back and they do feel they are very closely related. There's a difference between the two because the one that came out last year was like a coming of age film. It was a road trip film. It was kind of reintroduction to the universe that they set up in the previous films, and it was about a young boy becoming a man. Well, I'd say coming of age kind of thing. Whereas this film was more about, and it was about family was the other one. Whereas this film was more about just like horror and just evil people. And you kind of bought it as well. As silly and goofy as it was, you kind of figure that is kind of what you would get. You would get like weird stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, the family element of the first one. How do you think? What do you feel about? My thinking is, I mean, I would say my friend is proof of the pudding of this, but the second one kind of probably puts a stinker on this. How do you feel that you could probably get into these films without seeing any of the originals and still understand the world and still understand?
Yeah, I mean, from a technical point of view, you might understand it because the nature of the infected is, I mean, they are zombies, I guess, but not in the sense that you would imagine, where it's just like the dead coming back kind of thing. So, but you get the rules are very similar. Like you get bitten by them, you turn into one if they don't kill you. You kind of walk among they don't attack each other kind of thing like zombies don't. So there's a few kind of like core jokes or something, core tenets or whatever of like zombie lore that you get with this, but you might be confused by some of the things, especially with the new one, because of the way that the rage virus acts and some of the stuff. We are going to get into spoilers here, by the way. Actually, we'll probably just better mention that.
Beat me to it.
People will listen it by now, hopefully. But there's certain concepts in this that are very specific to this being the rage virus, that it came out of a lab and how it works, how it affects the mind. It's not just a generic zombie thing. So I think you'd miss that if you didn't see the original films.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a fair point. And obviously, spoilers now. Cillian Murphy's character, is it Cillian or Cillian? Cillian Murphy's character comes back at the end of the second film. And he just comes straight onto the screen, chatting to his daughter.
For jokes or something.
Hey, he is. And so you'd probably think, who's this guy? Why is he suddenly just been put in front of me? Who's this girl? Why is she? What? Do you want to? How do you want to do it? Do you want to get into spoilers of the first one, or just want to get straight into the second one?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we'll talk about the first film really. So obviously this film is set, as the title suggests, 28 years after. So from the concept point of view, the first film is set in 2002. So this new film is set in 2030. So it's close enough to where we are now. The virus has taken over mainland UK, and the people that have survived it or been born since, because there's plenty of time now for people who have been born since and just this is all they ever knew. The survivors have had to create their own society kind of out of the way in like an isolated area, and occasionally they will kind of venture into the mainland area where all the danger comes in.
But they need to go to the mainland for things like wood for fuel, for the fires, because I think so the little boy who it focuses on is called Spike. I can't remember the name of his dad. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah. He does say to Spike, one day you'll be working here in the forest, probably chopping trees down, getting logs, things like that. So I can't remember where I was going with that point, to be fair, but
the thing that was interesting with this, and what always made me wonder how it's going to work, is because it was established in the first film that the infected would die to death of starvation, and it wasn't just a theory. It was demonstrated on screen because it showed them dying of starvation, and it would make sense because they're not supposed to be like supernatural as such. And then that kind of followed on into the second movie 28 weeks later, so that's like 8 months later?
It's something like that, yeah.
They're comfortable enough to start repopulating because the infected have died of starvation. But then we'll get into a little theory that we've got as to how things evolve from there. But
credit to you on that theory, and it's a great theory.
Yeah, well, obviously that begs a question: and how is it still a thing like 28 years later? Have they just got like a constant like supply of people coming in getting infected, and then more people coming in getting infected, or are these people now able to get past the starvation element of it? Because it doesn't really explain that, does it? I don't think.
No, it doesn't. It hasn't gone into the starvation. In the new films, the current films, it does make it clear that the infected have to eat to survive. So the slow laws are eating like worms and ground things. The alphas are eating brains, deer. I think they hunt deer.
Yeah.
So they do have to eat. Like Josie says, they're not supernatural. They are essentially just infected humans. I don't even think I don't. Oh no, they eat brains, so they do eat people. But yeah, it doesn't actually explain the link from the first film to these current ones of how the virus is not has not starved itself out anymore. But you can get into your theory. Do you want to explain your theory? From
Yeah,
the
might as
film?
well. I mean, it does obviously say quite clearly that there's been an evolution. So it's not just the infected. You've got like two other ones now. There's some that have gone like in a way that's not as good because they're just like really fat and they just kind of roll around on the floor and like said eat worms. They call it the slow-mos.
Slow laws, I think.
Yeah.
These slow laws, yeah.
So there's those, but then on the flip side of it, you've got these what they call alphas, and they are a lot taller and a lot stronger, and they seem to have a bit more of a supernatural element to it. They did have a bit of a supernatural element in this movie, like, well, in 28 Years Later, last year's film, because like the son Spike has like a premonition of his mother like being ill and so on, and whether or not it's just a vision or whatever. But also the ability for the alphas can control like birds, or it seems like they can do. Or it can sort of, or they're in some kind of weird symbiosis. I don't know,
with nature sort of thing.
Yeah. So the alphas are obviously that. So it begs a question like exactly what has evolved and how have we gone from the concept of these zombies dying of starvation to this thing mutating very quickly to the point where these things can like survive and be intelligent enough to like eat things and kind of understand that that's what they need to do to survive. I guess you've got the life finds a way element there. But yeah, the theory is, because I'm monopolising things a little bit. But point is anyway, in the second movie, the second of all the movies, so that was 28 Weeks Later, that came out in 2007. We had a situation where one of the characters was a woman and she gets infected with the virus, and long story short, she doesn't become full of rage, which is what happens to everyone who gets infected with the rage virus. They just become this zombie killing machine infected with rage. She's got the virus, but it's just kind of like just fucked her up a bit. But she can still string a sentence together. She knows who she is. She knows that she's scared, and that's about it, basically. Yeah. But she's still got the virus, and this is at a point where nobody else has the virus anymore. Everybody had it has starved to death, but she's got it, and the only reason she's still alive is because it's not taken over. She's got a natural immunity to it. But then what happens is her husband kisses her, unaware that she's carrying it because she's not like demonstrating it. And then he gets it, but he gets the rage virus, and that's where everything kicks off from there.
Yeah.
That's the Robert Carlyle character. So then he then infects everybody else. The version of the virus that he has got is very specific. It's a new mutation at that point on from him. He's like a key character as well as his wife, because the virus has now gone from gone through a person that it hasn't killed or turned, and it's evolved through there. It's learned from the experience of taking somebody over and not killing them. So this new virus, similar to, this is the analogy that I make, we had a few years ago in certain cities in the UK where there were reports of like a super STD, sexually transmitted disease, like a super gonorrhea that was going around, that even if when people caught it from shagging some slapper in a nightclub on a night out, you take antibiotics afterwards and it doesn't touch it, it doesn't get rid of it, because a lot of people have been taking antibiotics but they don't finish the course. They just stop taking them when they're generally feeling better, but the virus, it doesn't kill the virus, you see, and then they end up passing it on to somebody else unaware, and the virus is now mutated because it now knows how to get infected and how to survive antibiotics. So when the next person gets it and they take antibiotics, the virus knows how to survive. It's a bit like the Borg, like how it adapts, kind of thing, to like certain things. So this virus has gone in the movie has gone through somebody that hasn't killed. It's learned from the experience, and it's kind of picked up like new traits, and that from that point on, however the mechanics of it work, this new infected bunch of people don't starve to death basically, or they have the wherewithal to eat and do things like that, and it's also evolved into these alphas and so on. So sorry, I've just
No, not at all. Yeah, so it's, like I said, you came up with that theory, and I didn't even consider it. This also leads on to another little discussion that we've had between ourselves of, and I don't think we're in disagreement about it. I think I'm just not 100% sure. The first 28 years later film, I'm still in two minds whether it retcons the second film. It must be canon, because I know Danny Boyle's not a fan of the second film. I don't know if he was involved with it at all or minimal. I'm honestly not sure. But at the start of this 28 years later, it comes up with a line of text saying the virus was held back from mainland Europe or something like that, because the second film ends with the infected in Paris, and then it ends. So you don't actually see it spread per se. You just see a few infected running towards the Eiffel Tower. And then obviously Joseph's theory about the virus going through the lady and Robert Carlyle would lend a hand to the new films. But yeah, it's a strange one, that, because if I don't know if there's any official say out there from anyone, from Danny Boyle or whoever, saying it's just the first film then this one or anything, but it would make more sense to keep it canon.
There's the flashbacks, isn't there, that you see?
Sorry, yes, I've forgotten about that. Yes, so during the scene in 28 years later, sorry, go back to 28 weeks later, my apologies. There is a scene where just after Robert Carlyle gets infected and therefore spreads it to everybody else in a really quick time because they're crammed together, they all burst out of the building, and the American soldiers that have been helping repopulate London are on the roofs, and they're like code red, basically, just shoot on sight. And in 28 years later, it's blinking you'll miss it, but there's a montage, a couple of montages where it's sort of going boots, 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 marching up and down again, and it's kids walking to school in formation, armies walking in formation. And there is a clip, again blinking you'll miss it, of the
code red scene,
the point of view, the code red scene where they're shooting on sight, the virus has respread, and there's a point of view of the sniper scope looking down. So obviously they've used footage from the second film, whether that's just because they had it to hand, it was free, whatever, but I think
the way I see it is the movie itself doesn't retcon it. If anything, they've gone to efforts, willingly or not, to legitimise it as a part of the sequel, as a part of the franchise. So.
I'd probably agree with that, at least as it stands right now. As we've said, in 28 years later, as Joseph said earlier, the alphas are sort of in control of I think what, crows or ravens or something. Well, crows, it's Britain, isn't it?
Look at those birds.
At this point, yes. The UK, the British Isles, has just been fully quarantined. So there's a point in the film where Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character and his son Spike are looking out from a roof. They can see a boat in the distance, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson says that's probably a patrol boat. Whatever comes in doesn't get out. Whatever gets out, I'm assuming, just gets killed. And there is a Dutch... Is he Dutch?
Is it Swedish?
Swedish, so that'd be Swedish, sorry, soldier who's crash landed in his boat with his platoon, and they are shooting the way through the infected, and they all get killed off apart from one, who ends up meeting up with Spike and his mother. So I'm probably getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but anyway, I'll go with it. And he has a name for the alphas, because they do come across one, and he calls it something like Vikingra, so like Viking, like a berserker, like berserker, something like that. So that's what the outside world, or at least in Sweden, Switzerland, so whoever it's from, they call them. And this leads on, I'm probably tangenting now, but I just had a little flash of inspiration the other night, and I messaged Joseph about it, and I messaged our other mate, Ben Mortimer. Shout out to Ben as well. I know he'd like that. About, and this is such a nitpick, it doesn't take away from the films, it doesn't affect the films in any way, it only came to me the other night, is he's got his name for the alphas, for what people within the quarantine zone call alphas. And I was thinking, how would, for example, the people on the village, the people who are settled in the village, the Jimmies, other pockets of survivors, how would they all know that an alpha is called an alpha? Surely they would have their own name for it. And you thought about the 100 monkey theory, was it?
Yeah, where like you teach a monkey something and all of a sudden, or it learns something, and then the 100th monkey or whatever suddenly like just knows how to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Could have that.
Yeah, could be something along that. Like I say, it's clearly just film language for this is what this creature's called. We're going to call it that. It would just probably be too messy and too convoluted. If everyone had a different name for this thing that's on screen, it'd just get confusing. So that's all it is. But yeah, I just thought there's no way for them to communicate with each other. Maybe, I think Ben had a theory that before things kicked off too much and the virus was evolving probably into what we now know, maybe people were in more contact, maybe they had radios, etc., and it's just spread like that. But yeah, so the first film in a nutshell is, like Joseph said, it's about family. So it starts off with a bunch of survivors that are settled on, I think it's called Hawley Island, which is up in Northumberland. And it's split off from the mainland by a causeway, which during high tide you can't cross it. Obviously during low tide for a period of time you can cross it, get to the mainland, do your thing and come back. They have a rule where if you choose to leave and you don't come back, they won't come looking for you. So Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character, he takes his son Spike off to the mainland for his 12th birthday, which I think they do establish is slightly too young, but they think he's ready to start learning how to go hunting, killing the infected, learning how to use a bow and arrow, getting food, getting supplies, that kind of thing. And everybody has their own little roles. So the ladies cook and clean. The men will generally do the going out, the hunting, the manual stuff, people making arrows, that sort of thing. And there is a character called Dr. Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes, and he's painted by Aaron Taylor-Johnson as being a weirdo. He went out when he was younger. To be fair, you can see it from his perspective. He goes out when he was younger with a group of mates, and they just see this field of bodies, a temple of bones, and just fire, and this weird red guy waving at him. So they leg it, and I can't remember how. I think it's one of the older guys on the island tells them that he's a doctor.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So Spike's mum, played by, her name escapes me. I can't remember. Jodie Comer.
Oh yeah.
She's sick with something, we don't know what it is. Spike gets a flash of inspiration going, if I can go find this doctor, he can help my mum. So he then goes off with his mum on a 2-person mission. The film then sort of concentrates on them for a while. They bump into the soldier that we mentioned. And they do get to Dr. Kelson. It turns out he's actually a really nice guy. The reason for the bodies was he's an ossuary. Is that
yeah, it's in honour of the dead, basically.
Yeah, so he's built like a bone temple, and whether you're infected or not, you were a human, so he honours that. And he establishes that Jodie Comer's character has cancer and it's incurable, and he can't help her. Obviously, he doesn't have medicine. So probably the kindest way to do it would be to use some kind of medicine to put her out of misery. He drugs Spike to calm him down, and does the deed, and then kills her. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so then I've missed something out actually. Big detail: the baby.
Oh yeah. There's a bit where they come across an infected woman, and she's pregnant. and as she's giving birth, she kind of loses her like instinct to kill everyone around her, and the mum that's dying, Spike's mum, sort of helps her through the birth, and it's like they kind of hold hands at one point, don't they, with this like infected woman. This baby comes out, and you're thinking like, what the hell is a rage infected baby going to be like? But it's normal. It's not affected by it.
Yeah.
And then about a minute later, the mum suddenly reverts back to like being a zombie and have to blast the hell out of her, basically. Then they take this baby, don't they, back to the mainland later on in the film and leave it there. We don't really know what happened to that, do we? That was the next film.
Still don't know, so we can, because what we'll do is we can briefly go over the second film and then we can get into like theory territory if you want.
Yeah.
So that's that, as Joseph said, they get the baby. Spike has a moment of just like, right, well, I don't want to go back to Holy Island and live with the colony because it's a bit weird. And he's, long story short, his dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, as far as we know, is a bit of a dickhead. Like, he's having an affair. He's like punched a hole in the wall, you know, bit of a temper. And Spike's like, I don't want to go back there, but this baby can't survive with just me. So he drops the baby off with a note named after his mum, Isla. And
he just fucks off
and just fucks off, yeah. So Spike's dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, he just goes bananas, opens the gate, runs out, Spike, Spike, shouting his head off. The water is too high for him to cross on the causeway, and then it cuts back to Spike. So we've left that character behind now. Cuts back to Spike. He's cooking a fish, sees an infected in the distance, arrows it. Then many more come. He legs it, and I think I'll let you go on to the next scene, Joseph.
Yes, this is the last scene in the film, and he's going to get overwhelmed by the number of zombies coming at him, and all of a sudden there's like somebody hollering from on the rocks above him, and it's this weird guy who's got like long white hair, tracksuit, loads of bling jewellery on, the chains, everything. And we're thinking, as British people, we're thinking, this guy reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Savile, the like notorious like children's TV show host who turned out to be like a massive not just pedo, but he like shagged dead bodies, if reports are to be believed. He procured children for famous people. Very, very evil man. That's the point of this, because people think that's a bit weird. That's the point. This guy's basing his look on this really notorious evil person, so we know he's not a good guy, and he shouts down to Spike, and he's got other people around him that are his kind of, you can tell his underlings, and they're dressed the same. And he says, "Oh, do you want a hand? Or do you want to deal with these zombies yourself?" While running at him, and he's like, "Yes, please." So Jimmy's other, because he's called Jimmy as well, this guy with the long hair and the chains, his minions are all wearing like different coloured tracksuits, which kind of has a kind of reminiscent of Power Rangers and Teletubbies as well. It's a really weird sort of pop culture infusion of all these different like visuals. As British people, we get it more. So to American audience, it's going to be weird as hell, and random as hell. But yeah, so they don't just fight these zombies off in a very kind of efficient way like you would. They're doing backflips, having fun, they're kind of giggling and dancing and stuff, whilst doing a pretty good job, to be fair. And they take out all the zombies, the kid's fine. And then Jimmy introduces himself. "Oh, my name's Jimmy, by the way. Would you like to join us? We'll look after you." And that's kind of how the film ends. And you're kind of thinking that kid's not going to be in good company there. These people are not. They're not right in their head, basically.
Yeah. When that scene happened, it had been spoilt for me.
Same.
So I was prepared for it. It was actually James at work sat next to you at the time. Yeah. And I said, we mentioned it, and he just went, "Have you seen the Jimmy Savile Ninjas?" And I was like, what?
I think I knew of it because I said it as well, but I hadn't seen it myself.
Yeah.
So I knew of it, but yeah, it was like, I need to see this and kind of get where they're coming from.
Exactly, I was the same. I was like, Jimmy Savile Ninjas. I was like, right. He hadn't seen the film. James hadn't seen the film either. So I think he just heard this on the grapevine, and I was like, what the hell? So I went in, I was prepared for this weird scene that was coming at the end. So it probably didn't have as big an impact on me as maybe what it should have. I can kind of get, if you went in totally blind and didn't know about it, the scene that Joseph's just gone over, tonally from the rest of the film is just so different. Like, there's a heavy metal version of Teletubbies theme
The
playing.
children's TV show.
Yeah, in the UK, Teletubbies, yeah, is a children's TV show. And yeah, like I say, he's doing, like they're doing backflips. It's a bit, whoa, Power Rangers style. When me and Joseph talked about it afterwards, again, because we're from the UK, and when you actually sit back and think about it, it kind of makes total sense. 2002 was the last time they'd known any normality. So for Jimmy, I think he was about 8 when it all kicked off with the virus. For some of the other Jimmys, it was probably not at all. All they've ever known, so in their timeline, all they've ever known is Jimmy Savile, good guy, to Teletubbies kid shows, basically. He's never grown up properly. And then that leads us on to the second film, which clearly was going to be about Spike and the Jimmy gang.
Just before we do, how much time have we got left on the thing?
We have.
What time?
It says 29 minutes.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Because
we can record for about 45 minutes.
Cool. So we knew it was going to be somewhat about the Jimmys and Spike going along with them. And the film is called 28 Years Later, The Bourne Temple. So clearly, Dr. Kelson's Bourne Temple is ossuary is going to feature. And that's exactly what it was. So the second film, we do not see Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character at all. He's not even mentioned. We don't even see that the survivors on Holy Island. They're not mentioned. We don't know about the baby Isla that was dropped off at the end of the first film. It's literally just the Jimmy gang and Dr. Kelson. So it starts off with I'll hold my hand up and say this is I can't take credit for this, but there's a sign right at the beginning of the film that says no children beyond this point in like an old swimming baths, and apparently that's a metaphor for Spike having to like man up. He's not a boy anymore. He's got to become a man. I did see that on another video, so I can't take credit. But Jimmy makes Spike. So the idea is to recruit a new member. He makes the new member choose and fight another Jimmy. If they win, it's a fight to the death. If they win, they become a Jimmy. If they lose, they die. And weirdly, actually, Jimmy, the head Jimmy, he calls it charity, which again is a massive hint because Jimmy Savile did a lot for charity, and that's what he was sort of known for as well. But in this Jimmy's world, charity means you're going to get killed. Spike accidentally wins the fight, hits an artery in the other Jimmy's leg with his knife. He bleeds out. So he gets taken along. He doesn't really have any other choice. He doesn't like it, but what else is he going to do? And this Jimmy gang are just pure evil, aren't they? I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, they're just kind of like marauders, aren't they? They just kind of go around. If there's any survivors, they'll just go to them. Because he's literally... I mean, he's obviously a bit mental. He's a bit of a psycho. And he's actually a psycho, and he kind of knows it as well. But he also believes in the devil. And it's kind of a bit ambiguous as to whether like the devil is real or whether it's all just visions and so. I think in the movie, I think it's supposed to be more visions. To be fair, because you know that the rage infected see things that aren't real. Because this film kind of shows like perspectives of what people see sometimes, So yeah, this gang of Jimmys, I think he calls them his fingers, doesn't he? Because there's like 5 fingers on a fist or a claw or something. I can't remember now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but that's something that they do. They just basically go around salvaging for stuff and killing people, and that they don't like the look of or whatever, they feel insulted by or whatever, and they just kind of get their jollies just by torturing people. So there's a couple in there. There's the kid, obviously isn't happy going along with it, but he's kind of taken in by it because he has to or die basically. There's the kind of concept of anywhere other than here. Is that good or bad? Because there's another member of the gang who, again, you can sort of tell doesn't want to be there, but she realises that the idea of anywhere else other than here with the Jimmy gang is better. That's a fallacy. She knows that this is as good as it gets. Yeah. Which is kind of what keeps people together in that gang. So there's an element of that. Meanwhile, it kind of flips backwards and forwards between what's going on with the Jimmy gang and what's going on with Dr. Kelson. I'll let you kind of cover that, but one thing I mentioned in my last video, there's a lot of good stuff in this film that is kind of spelt out without them having to go through what do they call it when they have to spell it out to the audience kind of thing. It's all done with like visuals and so on. So it'll show Dr. Kelson in his little like sanctuary that he's got. Yeah. And they don't have. He doesn't have to. His character doesn't have to tell anyone like, "Oh, think about my wife." And he plays Duran Duran a lot. He's got a picture of Simon Le Bon, who's the lead singer of Duran Duran, on the wall. And I don't think that's because he likes Duran Duran. The impression I was getting was, I'm betting he met his wife like on the dance floor when Duran Duran was playing, and she was big into that. So by keeping that around, it reminds him of her, because he's one of them, and in a healthy way as well, because he's not somebody who mopes around. He's doing it in a kind of in a way that's kind of honouring her, not forgetting her, and keeping that happiness alive. It's not like I say he's doing it in an unhealthy way. Under the circumstances anyway. So there's a lot of that goes on, and he plays Duran Duran records and so on. So I think there's a lot of little things about his character that aren't like spelt out in that sense. So but yeah, I'll let you tell more about Dr. Kelson.
So like I said, like Joseph says, Jimmy Gang, Dr. Kelson. So Dr. Kelson's perspective is, as Joseph said, he's not moping around, he's just making the best of a bad situation. And he's just continuing about his business, really. But he doesn't necessarily use weapons. He doesn't have any weapons. What he has is a blow pipe. And obviously, because he's a doctor and a chemist, I'm guessing, of some kind, he's obviously over the years been raiding chemists and shops and houses and whatever else for supplies, medical supplies. So he can make up concoctions, and he's gathered together a lot of morphine. And it actually did establish this in the first film, but it's mainly focused on in this film, where there's a particular alpha that Dr. Kelson has named Samson, because obviously he's huge in more ways than one. And so he blow darts the alpha Samson, and it basically just stops him in his tracks. He goes into like a zen-like state. And yeah, it comes out. So Dr. Kelson talks to Samson. He has conversation with him. It's a one-way conversation, but he talks to him, and it comes out that Samson is actually addicted to the morphine and to the zen-like state that he goes into, because it shows earlier in the film that the infected see people as monsters in it, I suppose you could say, where they just have to kill them and get rid of them. Because Dr. Kelson says, I've seen the infected kill babies and children. Why would they do that unless they are seeing something that isn't there? And then from that, he says, seeing something that isn't there, a doctor would call that psychosis. So he's working, cogs are turning in his head, and he does say to Samson, it basically establish a friendship. So Samson has learned to come to Dr. Kelson without attacking him, and he knows if he attacks Dr. Kelson, he won't get the morphine, and it's as Dr. Kelson puts it, a quid pro quo. It's a transaction. So they become sort of weird friends. And
you're like me in the car.
Yeah. you feed him, and but yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so that's it. It becomes friendship. And Dr. Kelson says he's raided every house and chemist within a 70-mile radius, and there's no more morphine. At Samson's rate of consumption, he probably has about 2 weeks left. And after that, what's going to happen? Is he going to go back to full alpha mode? Is he going to learn to, whatever? We don't know. So he wants to put Samson out of his misery with an injection that's going to kill him and put him in eternal rest. And he says, give me a sign of consent. So he sort of looks at the stars, and he's zoned out, and he sort of breathes heavily, and he's just about to inject him, and he says the word moon. Oh, wow. And an infected has spoke. And he did say earlier in the film, Dr. Kelson, it would be great if you could just say a word. Do you understand anything I'm saying? So again, the cogs are turning. It's establishing, it's laying groundwork for what's to come. So he says the word moon, and he pulls the needle out, doesn't kill him. He then goes away and comes up with a concoction of pills that's going to help him probably a bit more long term. Again, we'll go into this later for theory time, but then the Jimmy Gang. So, do you want to explain about the Jimmy Gang and the Satanism and how they come together?
Yeah, so that kind of leads back to what the Jimmy Gang have been doing, and somebody comes across from a bit of a distance. They see Dr. Kelson, who's covered in iodine solution to protect him from the virus. He's just constantly covered in that, so he's got a red look to him. So somebody sees him with Samson on a hill dancing at one point. It's a bit weird. And they think that he's the devil and that he can dance with all these demons and stuff because he's red as well. And Jimmy says, well, I'm the son of the devil kind of thing. I'll go over and meet him, and then I'll let you all come and speak to him. And Jimmy, being psychotic but kind of aware of it, and also literally a Satanist, you can kind of tell he thinks like he might actually be the devil, but then again, he might just be some weird guy. So he goes over and checks it out, and then introduces himself, and he becomes very aware that he's not the devil, basically. Or what do they call him? Uncle Nick, don't they?
Old Nick.
Old Nick,
yeah.
Satan. Yeah, so, but then this leaves him in a bit of a dilemma because he's told his little minions that they're going to get to meet the devil and so on. So he says, well, right, if you can do me this favour and just pretend like you're the devil and I'm the son, then they'll be happy, they'll follow my lead even more, they'll be even more convinced. By the way, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to feed you your own intestines, so you better do it. So Dr. Kelson's panicking about it and thinking I'm going to have to go along with this. And then what happens is it goes through that way. He brings these people over to meet the devil. He puts on this really crazy, Dr. Kelson puts on this really crazy show. He plays Iron Maiden, doesn't he?
Number of the Beast. Yeah.
And he puts on this fire dance and everything. He does a really good job of it. Just because he knows if he doesn't, Jimmy's going to kill him. But in the meantime, before that happens, he has to kind of get rid of Samson, doesn't he? Kind of get him out of the way.
Yeah.
And he realises he might not survive this, so he gives Samson this cocktail of antipsychotic, whatever it is, medicine, to relieve the symptoms of everything he's going through. And Samson just kind of buggers off, out of the way while all this is going on. But then I'll let you tell
Yeah, so as Joseph said, the Jimmy introduces himself and says, pretend you're the devil for my cronies or I kill you. So he puts on the Iron Maiden show, probably my favourite scene in the film.
Yeah,
if someone had said to me, Dr. Kelson dances around to Iron Maiden looking weird, out of context, I'd have been what the hell?
We saw it in the trailer and out of context, what the hell?
That is true. And the poster with him with arms splayed out, black teeth and leather coat, and I was like, is he infected?
Yeah.
Has he become infected? Anyway, so he does the Iron Maiden show, amazing, and he does actually succeed. So it turns out that Jimmy beforehand has told him, I think it's 3 commandments, which is basically keep pillaging and raping and killing, just doing awful things, and grow the fist from 5 to 10 to thousands, that kind of thing. And Dr. Kelson, 2 things go on at this moment. Number 1 is when he hears Jimmy going, yes, we will continue to rape and kill and whatever, he's thinking, well, I don't want him to do this. And at that moment, because the Jimmys wear these weird sort of culty sort of masks when they're doing when they're doing the whatever they're doing, the ritual type stuff. And Spike, who we talked about from the first film, who's already met Dr. Kelson, knows he's not old Nick. And he's fearing, thinking, what is going to go on? Leave him alone, but he can't say anything. Knows that he's a good guy and he's not out for harm. And how psychotic Jimmy is. Dr. Kelson clocks Spike under the mask and thinks, right, comes up with a quick idea. And he goes around, and it's a brilliant scene, so brilliant. He goes around the Jimmys and he's looking them all in the eye. And he says, there is one more rule. And main Jimmy's going, one more rule? No, there isn't. He's like, what the hell are you doing? Sort of panicking. And he says, I'm the devil. You're the devil's son, kind of thing. We need you to sacrifice yourself in order for this to work and grow. And he's like, what the hell? So then Jimmy realizes that Dr. Kelson's trying to do him over. Stabs Dr. Kelson in the stomach, fatally, sadly. And sorry, before that, Dr. Kelson does lift Spike's mask up, and sort of they have a moment, and he says, well, Jimmy says, well, if I'm going to get sacrificed, who the hell's going to do it and nail me to that cross? And Dr. Kelson says, these guys are, because that's how it works. And there's two Jimmys that are a bit unsure, that are a bit more corrupted, but there's, as Joseph said, there's Spike and the other one, Jimmy, I can't remember what her name is. Jemima was the other one, weren't it? Who did the fight in the barn. Another female Jimmy. And she knows he's talking shit. She literally says those words, he's talking shit. And she goes for him, she kills the other Jimmys and nail him to the cross. And he's upside down on the cross. And the other two bugger off, Spike and the lady bugger off, and Dr. Kelson's led there dying. And Jimmy has a vision, I suppose, where the alpha, Samson, is actually survived. The cocktail has worked. He's come out of his psychotic state. So he's in this like, he's sort of like kept his strength and everything, but he's in like a more human state. He's walking into the Bone Temple to come to Dr. Kelson, and sees him on the floor, fatally wounded, and he dies. Samson actually says the words, Dr. Kelson, thank you, or something to that effect. Picks him up off the ground and he takes him away to do with him whatever he was going to do with him, whether he's going to, whatever, we don't know. And then there's a jump scare, isn't there, where...
Yeah, Jimmy's kind of like dying, and he's seen like visions of Samson with horns, which clearly he doesn't actually have. And then, like you said, it's like a jump scare where like Samson just goes, ah! Obviously, that's him kind of screwed over kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, and then the film... Oh, no, sorry, the film ends there. The film doesn't end there. Then it cuts to a little farm cottage.
That looked familiar.
And
chickens.
Yeah. Do you want to go? Because you're probably a bit more knowledgeable on what he's talking about with his daughter, in terms of like history repeating itself.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So... it shows this cottage, and it looks familiar. You can kind of see there's like sort of woven blanket that looks very similar to the like blanket that they were like weaving together at the very last scene of 28 Days Later back in 2002. And you're thinking this is the like little cottage that we saw the Jim character at the end of 28 Days Later, when they had the thing that said "help" in the field. And clearly, he's got the Cillian Murphy character who comes back, and what looks like to be his daughter, who presumably it's a daughter they had with the female character from the first film. She's not shown in this, so we don't know if she's like dead or if she's still around somewhere. Played by Naomi Harris, great actress. And he's just basically teaching her about like populism and loads of different like other sort of political movements and so on of the 20th century, and like why this worked, why that didn't work. He's just basically educating her. And they hear this noise of like shrieking from a distance outside. So I think she says something like, "Do we hide?" And he says, "Hell no."
Mm-hmm.
And they run out with a rifle. And they see in the distance, they see Spike and the female Jimmy that's obviously sort of turned to the good side kind of thing, running away through this field, being chased by quite a few infected, and they're sort of looking at it through a binocular scope, and they say, right, we're gonna have to like get involved with this, and that's kind of how the film ends on a high note, on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, the girl says, "Do we help them?" And he says, "Of course we do," or something like that. Yeah, and then the film just ends. So I think this is probably going to be one of my favourite, but like the theory part of it, where this can all go. There was a character that it didn't really affect us going through the beats of the film, but one of the events in 28 Years Later, Bone Temple, this current film, is again just part of the Jimmy's goings on. Is the basically have raided this farmhouse where a family of survivors are living, and they do the usual charity where they tie them up in the barn, skin two of them alive for no reason other than enjoyment, and forgot what point it was. Oh yeah, that was it. Yes. So one of the family manages to escape, and she's pregnant. So so she escapes the chaos. Basically, we don't have to go into what happens. It's just gore and chaos and evil. But yeah, she escapes and she's pregnant, and we do not see her again for the rest of the film. We just see her escape. Now, where I was going with that was questions to be answered are what's going to happen to Spike's dad, him coming onto the mainland to go and get Spike back. What's going to happen with Samson, because we've left him able to talk to some degree with this concoction of pills in him that Dr. Kelson's given him. Will it last? Now Dr. Kelson's not about to give it him anymore. Would you read into not seeing Jimmy die? When the jump scare, when the alpha comes to him tied on the cross.
I think that's supposed to be the end of him. Yeah.
The end of him, yeah.
He hasn't even got his people anymore. He was only as strong as his following. That was the thing.
True.
They're all gone now.
And he had been stabbed in the side and he's nailed and everything. Yeah, he was pretty screwed, wasn't
he? Literally.
Anyway, what's obviously going to happen when Cillian Murphy's character and his daughter meet Spike and the Jimmy survivor? Obviously, they're probably going to become a little unit to some degree, I'm guessing.
What other forces are there going to be to contend with?
Yes. Do you know what? Ben Mortimer sent me a quick video on Instagram the other day, and this guy theorised that Spike's dad is going to become an alpha.
All right, okay.
Which I think is an interesting theory, because the film, apart from The Infected, I do think that the film to some degree needs a kind of villain or something that they're running from. With all these theories, I'm probably going to be way off, and I'm happy to be corrected. If it's done right, it's going to be good, whatever, regardless. But I think he might play the villain role in the film. Spike wants to get away from him. He wants him back. He doesn't understand everything that's gone on with the Jimmys and everything like that. He doesn't know Dr. Kelson. He doesn't know what's happened with his wife. So he's probably going to see these guys and go, "Give me my son back." And do you know what I mean? Like, fists can start swinging potentially. Will he have a redemption arc? Whether that means he becomes an alpha or becomes infected or sacrifices himself or something for a redemption, I don't know. What's going to happen? Sorry, go on. Were you going to say something?
Well, is it because Holy Island itself does seem a little bit like they're a bit kind of backwards in a way. They're not bad. They just seem a bit misguided because they're living in a world in the past, like they still got portraits of the Queen up, whereas in our world we know she died in like 2022, but here they are in 2030 still worshipping the Queen. And they've kind of regressed in a lot of ways, so you could potentially have something happen with them. They could like go to war or something like that. They could introduce another element where there's like a mainland thing where they could have like a fortified castle or something like that. It could become like it used to be medieval times. You have like different families and so on. Could do that, which would have then been foreshadowed in the last film because it shows medieval combat as well.
When in the boots montage, it does show like medieval arrow fights, doesn't it? That's a good shout actually.
Because they do tend to prefer with these movies to have like the human element is the threat. Like even like the second movie, it's not that zombies are like coming, it's the fact that the government is kind of like killing everybody and setting perfectly like healthy people on fire. The hero of the character of the film, played by Jeremy Renner, young Jeremy Renner, gets killed by his own people, like burnt alive kind of thing. They'll probably do stick to that. Whilst, you know, like you said, they could turn somebody like Aaron Taylor-Johnson into an alpha or something. That'd be, I could buy that.
Well, like obviously because so you think that the next film is gonna go back and focus on the Hawley Island villagers a little bit more, and maybe because in the first film, I would say that they're not really they're painted to just be all right. They're a little bit backwards, like you say. But if I was going to live anywhere, I'd probably want to live with them guys. Like pretty settled down. It's nice, you know. They're in a pretty safe environment, and but they now are in possession of this baby that was born from an infected, and they do know that it's born from an infected because Spike wrote it in the letter that he left with the baby. So how they'll treat that baby, whether they'll raise it proper, whether they'll treat it differently, is all out there in it to be seen. But yeah, it's a good shout. That maybe it could paint them as not as perfect, not as idyllic as you think they are. Because I don't know if to read into this or not, or if it's just like a harvest ceremony type thing, thanking the whoever for the food. But they have those strange like wooden like masks on, don't they?
Yeah, they just kind of look a bit like weird and jarring, but you don't know what the gist of that is. What's the point of it?
Yeah, like when Spike and his dad have gone out to the mainland to gather supplies and whatever, they come back and they sort of hold like a welcome back party for them, where they regale them with these over exaggerated tales of Spike killing all these infected and things. And when they're preparing the food, when the women and the girls are preparing the food for the tables, they're wearing these strange like wooden, almost cult-like masks. Doesn't mention it, doesn't like focus on it too much. We've never heard anything more about it. Yeah, I have this nice little theory. It won't happen, I know it won't, but where the potentially Spike and Cillian Murphy's daughter. So basically, the film plays out however it plays out. They survive, and they've got whoever's left. Maybe the pregnant woman who escaped the Jimmies earlier on in the film. Maybe she comes on board. She has a baby. And the film fades to black, and it says 28 years later, and then it's a grown-up Spike and a grown-up Cillian Murphy's daughter, and they're an item, and they've had a kid or two, along with the baby from the pregnant woman, and they're like the next generation. They could maybe go back to Dr. Kelsin's Bourne Temple, go in his bunker. They can read his notebooks because he was making notes of what his concoction was. So maybe they could copy that and find.
So you mean this film could be set like 20 years, another 20 years? Like?
No, sorry, I mean like at the end of the film.
Oh, okay.
So the film will happen in current timeline.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the film, it will fade to black and say 28 years later, and then it'll. Again, that's not going to happen, but it's a nice little idyllic thing.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like the end of I Am Legend, or where that was kind of going in a way as well, like with where they get like a cure for it, and it's you don't see that happen, but positive.
So Spike, he's coming in with he's seen what Hawley Island villages can be like, what his dad can be like having affairs, this sort of thing. He's not this perfect dad. He's seen what Dr. Kelsin has been like when everyone painted him to be weird. He's seen what the Jimmies can be like. He's now going to see what Cillian Murphy's going to be like as a character. This father figure who can teach how to read and teach about the past and things. So Spike has got so many perspectives he can come at it, and he can probably learn from all these to become a better person. And he's probably about the right age to get with, to eventually get with Cillian Murphy's daughter. Again, I'm totally spitballing and just throwing anything out and hoping it sticks, but maybe they can become the next generation of, we can overcome all this, and we can maybe not spread a cure, because I don't know how you do that in that kind of world, but they can teach the next generation, history not to repeat itself and that kind of thing. Just probably like a bit of an idyllic ending. But yeah, that's just, again, total theory time there. But there is a lot that they need. There's a lot that they need to tie up in this next film, I think.
Yeah, hopefully it's not like disappointing, because it does kind of leave you with a lot of questions. And sometimes it's good to not have answers to these things, but it'd be good to just sort of see something wrap up with it. Because I don't think the intention is to keep the franchise going. It'd be just nice if there was some kind of closure to it to some degree. There's a few things I've thought as well, like again, like sort of theory time, but like how it might spread to like Europe potentially. We know that birds can carry the virus, because there's like a bit in the original film, isn't there, where the guy gets blood in his eye from a bird. Although I suppose these droplets that come out, but do they have like an immunity to it? I don't know. Could they carry it out? Not necessarily even if they carry it in their system, but they could carry like traces of the virus when like a bird's been pecking at something. They could migrate out of the UK or whatever. Or one thing I thought was the alphas do seem to be quite like with it. They know to like not just like run and attack. They'll stand on top of a hill and just like stare and just like keep an eye on something,
Mm-hmm.
and they seem quite physically controlled and not just like spazzing out. Surely one could swim across the channel. It is physically possible
Yeah.
for a human to do that. I won't recommend it, but
It has been done.
yeah, but an alpha could potentially have the wherewithal to do that at some point. But
Yeah.
then again, they probably just get shot, and there'll probably be like we say, patrol boats and so on.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why I like these films so much. Not only are they just, in my opinion, outright good films, they tell a really good story with really good characters, but they also leave you with a lot of questions, and that's the beauty of it. I can't remember off the top of my head, you might know, Joseph, another film franchise or something where it's just got us talking, got us talking so much.
There's a few, like The Purge.
Yeah.
You can ask Vicky Buckley about that. She's always sending me messages saying, "Would this happen during the Purge?" And it's like, it's a good question. There's like the alien universe, especially with Prometheus coming out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories to that as well.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Thing has always been a big one as well. Just with that, like two films. With some of the things that happen in that, you can sort of have different theories, but they don't come around that often, do they?
Yeah.
Stuff like this.
Yeah, especially when, I know me and Joseph watch a lot of YouTube, and I love watching film reviews, film theories. I could probably sit and watch all day about theorizing about the next film, in the 28 franchise, and just think, oh, that's great, that's really good, and it just gets you a bit buzzing for it. And it's just, like Joseph says, these moments don't come around too often where we can make a video like this and just sit and talk about theories and what's gone on and what's to come, and be excited for it. And I hope that the next one, because when did 28 Years come out? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
2002. Oh, years.
Sorry, years. Yeah,
that was last year.
Last year, weren't it?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the next one's not going to be too long of a wait, really.
I think it's in production already, so I imagine next year maybe, because these films don't take that long to make. I don't think.
Yeah, because did they film these two back to back?
Yeah, they've been this last one, even though it's just come out, it's been on the shelf for like ages because they were filmed at the same time.
Yeah, and it's quite clear now. I've seen the second film. Well, 28 Born Temple, the second film. It's now thinking back to the first one. It's clear that they do have a roadmap in mind. There's things, because I rewatched 28 Years Later the other day with Lucy and a friend at home, and watching it back, I'm like, it's like they're already laying the groundwork in the first film for stuff that's going to come in the second film, which I really appreciate, because unlike the Star Wars sequels where it's just like 3 completely random,
Even had that in the original trilogy, to be fair. Unless the incest was like part of the thing, where you've got like Princess Leia kissing what would eventually be her own brother.
Yeah. True.
But not to the same degree as what they're doing with the Star Wars films in more recent times. Laser.
Yeah. The first film, paints a pretty good picture, and then it just went, what the hell is happening here? But yeah, I think that's probably a good time to cap it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any messages for the core? I don't know if the core will be watching this yet anyway, so watch it when he's seen the film anyway, because we talked about this. We could possibly do a follow-up video for like a Halloween special or something, because by then we'll have seen it again.
Yeah.
And we did talk about the 28 movies in the past one. So all good. There's not been much else to look forward to this year in terms of movies, is there?
And it's January as well. Like, January is generally known for being a crap month for films, isn't it?
Yeah.
Studios cinemas or whatever release films that they know aren't going to make as much money, so they're generally lesser quality. But I think, just with this film alone, I think it carries the month. But I think there's been a couple of other films that have come out this month that are getting really good reviews.
There's a Statham film coming out. I think it's now at the moment. Is it Shelter? I think it's called.
Oh yeah, Shelter. Yeah.
See that, but,
I think it's a strong month, a strong January. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come. But
cool.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, well, so I don't know if I'll edit this into 2 parts or whatever, but hopefully you've stayed with us, and we'll have to definitely do this again anyway, if anything else.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, well, like and subscribe. Because even you're not going to watch this probably now. You're my only viewer. And,
Yeah.
you have to just play this.
I'll submit myself a mailbag and answer my own question.
Oh, that'll be right. Cool. All right, well, we'll see you next time. You can do the honours and turn it off.
Peace.
And he's obviously with Dr. Samson. Dr. Samson? What the hell?
Not name remembering,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
let's put in the outtakes. Right, press stop. Brilliant.